Coming up on this week's edition of the Indie Wave podcast, he's a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll, and a whole lot of fun to listen to. Join us as we explore the music of indie artist and creator of the Glacer FM Country Song of the Year for 2022, Wine from a Dixie Cup, KURTGOTT, and our exclusive premiere of his new song, Christine, on this week's edition of the Indie Wave podcast.
Love the one you with. Love the one you with. Love the one you with. Love the one you with.
The Indie Wave podcast with That Sailing Guy. That Sailing Guy, also known as Christopher German. In partnership with Glacer FM and broadcasting from the birthplace of grunge, Aberdeen, Washington. Welcome to the Indie Wave podcast. Welcome to the Indie Wave podcast. I'm your host, That Sailing Guy. Each week we delve a little deeper into the growing wave that is the indie music industry, into an effort to share with you some of the best kept secrets in the music biz today, as told by the recording artists and musicians who are braving the cacophony of streaming content to shine above and be heard in an effort to share the creativity that burns within their souls. We do this in partnership with the best damn internet radio station on the planet today, Glacer FM, who works tirelessly to find and share the music of the next generation on their channels, Glacer FM Radio and Glacer Underground. I learned of Glacer FM the way so many of the artists we talked to did via an internet post looking for good content, and I fell in love with their idea that we should resist the temptation to be spoon-fed the music that commercial radio is feeding us. The truth is that to find the best music and the next big thing on the music scene, you gotta dig deep these days. Music today in many ways lacks a certain something to get played on your car stereo. Now, I'm not saying that all music on the commercial stage is a sellout these days, but I do know that there is a very precise formula that the music industry has followed over the years that many of the artists we feature on this show do not fit into. And because they don't fit into that neat little suit of clothes like Greg Brady, they are looked over. In years past, that may have been game over for some, but thanks to new radio stations like Glacer FM and streaming services like Spotify and Pandora, and the monetizing policies of YouTube and Facebook and the alternative media that is the podcasting industry, we are creating a counterculture of independent music that's breaking across the planet like a wave on a beach. That is why I created the Indie Wave and encourage musicians and music lovers alike everywhere to join us each week to explore the many facets that this indie music scene is developing, perhaps for the first time in human history. This week, we have one such artist who had he started recording in the days of Jackson Browne and Warren Zevon, he might have his own gold records and his own show on Yacht Rock on Sirius XM, but alas, it wasn't to be. Instead, he is wowing the crowds of the Florida beaches with his dulcet tones and his mastery of the guitar and his piano to remind us of a time when hair was long, coke was king, and the love came easy. He's a living, breathing, easy rocker straight out of 1981 and struck listening gold this past year with his sleeper crossover hit, Wine from a Dixie Cup, on Glacer FM as the best country song of 2022. He wears the country badge of honor with pride, but admits that his work might better fit into a time when music was a little gentler. Please let me introduce to you KURTGOTT with his song Wine from a Dixie Cup, and stick around after because we'll hear from the man himself in an exclusive interview I recorded with him this week. Here you go.
I'm just taking it slow, lying on the beach, sipping drinks in the sand all day. Drinking my wine from a Dixie cup, 'cause I got a lot of bills to pay. myself a brew. She feeds the kids and she tucks the men and she goes to bed by 10. Me, I watch the movies, staying up and getting drunk again.
Let's first talk about this Glacer FM award that you got, the Best Country Song of 2022. Wine from a Dixie Cup. Is that the proper name for that song?
That is the name, yes.
Yeah, so tell me, inspiration for that song. How do you feel about being named Country Music of the Year, or Country Music Song of the Year for Glacer FM? How did you find Glacer FM? Let's start at the very beginning here with Glacer FM as the central tenant and all this whole thing. Sir, tell me about your story.
All right, well, I mean, it's pretty basic. I mean, well, first of all, Wine from a Dixie Cup, I wouldn't even say that I'm necessarily a country artist, but I love country, and in fact, that's probably all I listen to these days is country music. But I'm kind of like I'm a lot of things intertwined. You know, there's a lot of rock and blues in my music, and a lot of country influence as well. And it's to be named a country artist is perfectly fine with me, and I'm thrilled about that because country music has always been dear to my heart. And this song, and the funny thing about it is I wrote this song so long ago, and it was never even really anything I thought about recording. It was really just something I did. I was in college when I wrote this song, and here I am 52 years old. I mean, that was like 30 years ago. And I never even really finished the song, and it was always just floating around in my head, and it was kind of I just thought of it as like, well, this is just a silly little song. But the real reason why I got down to recording the song was a close friend of mine who actually, unfortunately, she passed away just a few years ago with cancer. She was a wonderful friend of mine, and I knew her back in college. And she always would ask me every single time I saw her, she's like, I love that song. Have you recorded that one yet? Have you done something with it yet? And I'd always just kind of like laugh it off, like I just haven't done a thing with it. And, you know, unfortunately, it took all these years. And after we lost my friend, Stacy, that was when I decided, you know, I think I need to do this almost more as like a tribute, you know? And so I sat down and I tried to recall the song, and then I finished what I didn't really write. I finished it. And then I said, I'm going to record this and then just see what happens. And at the time, I was recording a whole album at the time, 10 songs, and I thought that the song fit on the album pretty well, so I decided to just put it on there. And you know, I made a lyric video and put it out there on social media, and with a little dedication to her at the end. And I just know that she would have loved to have seen this, you know, and especially now the fact that it won this award, she would have been like just so amazed and thrilled, you know, I'm sure. But so, you know, the way that all worked out with Glacer FM is I was looking for ways to promote my album, really, and I stumbled upon I heard about Glacer FM. I think the funny thing is maybe I saw like a link on social media is submit your songs. And I just thought, wow, geez, I've never even really done this, but let me just see what happens. And the funny thing is I submitted another song. I didn't even send them that song. I submitted my single off the album, which was another song called Deal Me In. And they immediately, they wrote back to me, said they loved it, and they played the song for a long time, and it did very well on their charts. And I was thrilled. I was like, this is great. You know, they're keeping it in rotation. It climbed pretty high on the charts. And to me, I was like, well, this is awesome. And after a while, I think, you know, it came to the end. I said, you know, I don't think they're playing it anymore. And I went and I looked, and I was tuning in every now and then, listening to the station. And I went and looked one day on their website, and I saw Wine from a Dixie Cup there. And I was shocked because I really didn't submit the song. So it meant so much to me that they embraced my music that much that they went and searched out some music, and they just began playing it. And that right there meant so much to me. I thought, wow, this is great.
I can personally tell you, I was just listening to Glacer FM before I started the broadcast, but they actually still have it in your rotation. They just played it before I came on air with you, so they're still rotating it on there. And yeah, you're I mean, it's got a tremendous amount of listens on Spotify. It's got a tremendous amount of play on YouTube. But I think I have to agree with you with one thing, is that I would not call you a country star in any way, shape, or form. I would probably, and forgive me if you don't like this assimilation, but I would equivalent you more to like a Jackson Browne kind of person, or maybe even a Warren Zevon, maybe even early Jimmy Buffett, because your sound it's got a lot of piano in there. It's got a lot more soul to it. It's not so twangy, although you do have some twangy songs, some shit kicky music in there as well. But ultimately, I would not call you a country star. I would call you. Let's just say this: if you had been born or if you had been discovered in 1978, you would be up with the ilk of those people. But now you're being discovered so late, so we have to pigeonhole you into some categories. So they pick country.
Yeah, and I've been telling you really hit the mark there with some of those influences. Jackson Browne, I'm a big fan, and I've always struggled to kind of just define myself, but I really think a lot of times I tell people Americana. I think that just works for me because it's such a blend of everything. There's this rock blues is really something that I've listened to a lot. That really is something that's part of my music. But country is also infused in there a little bit too, and that singer-songwriter thing is in there as well. And so Americana just seems to be what I've been going with these days, telling people, that's pretty much what I am. But if I have a couple songs that sound country, that's great. I mean, if it climbs to the country charts, I'm happy with that. That's great.
Well, so. And but that's one of the advantages of indie radio, is that you don't have to be pigeonholed into one playlist or one station or one genre. You can be across a million different things, and you can do a million different things, and everybody can love you for their own little take on the whole thing. I certainly think a lot of people resound with or identify with the lyrics of "Wine from a Dixie Cup" because we're in hard times now, and that songs like that really do sing in hard times. But at the same time, I think, like with "Deal Me In," I think that appeals to, say, people my age and your age, and it will certainly anybody that I've had 18-year-olds working for me that love classic rock, and I think you could probably fit into their little world as well.
Yeah, I would say definitely classic rock has always been probably the biggest music that I've ever followed and loved ever since day one. So. That's really where my roots come from. All the music of the 70s, some 60s. I love the Beatles, 70s, 80s, right up into the 80s. Just a huge fan of all that music. And Tom Petty, the Eagles, Creedence, all those big bands. That's where it all comes from with me, So,
well, riddle me this: How is it that How are you doing on the indie charts? How are you doing with your getting your listens? You're on Spotify. I caught you on Spotify as well. I imagine you're on Pandora, but I didn't check Pandora out. I'm a Spotify guy. But I certainly saw you on YouTube. How's your listenership going? What is your track? Where are you going from here?
Well, it's off to it's kind of a slow start. I'm not gonna lie. But I really feel like in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm just getting started. Here I am at my age, but I've been doing this full time now. I've been a full-time musician for about three years. I took the leap and left my career, just dove right into it, and it was a scary thing to do, but I'm doing it. I'm surviving. I've got plenty of gigs down here in South Florida. I'm playing 4 or 5 times a week, and I've got a set schedule, which is great. And I'm so appreciative and grateful for these gigs. And I've got a nice little following around here too that I've been building, and so that part of it is all going great. And I feel like I've got more time over the last few years to really work on the writing and the recording. And if you go back, I got a couple albums out there right now. My first album, the songs, the ideas were great, but the production atrocious. The second album, much better. The one with Wine from a Dixie Cup. The production, I worked so hard on that. It's getting better and better. And these are all, this is everything being done by myself, basically, with the help of, I have one other person that my musical partner that I write and record with, and he's been very inspirational, Kerry Scope. I feel like I'm getting better and better. I've got a whole batch of songs now I'm working on that I can't wait to get out there. And
so we have a new album coming up in the near future?
I'm working on it. I'm not even really sure if I'm going to do a full album or just do some singles. I'm still trying to learn this whole thing, like what the best approach is. But right now, it's looking like it could be another album. I'm doing pretty well. I got like 3 songs finished. I'm working on another one. I'm actually releasing a song soon coming up with my partner. And both of our names are going to be on the title because we have this duo on the weekends down here, Kurt and Carrie. So this is the first time we've ever done something like this, kind of released it as a duo. And we're looking forward to this. It's, I know that we're not here to talk about that, but it's
hey, we're here to talk about everything, man. There's nothing not talked about on the show.
well, I'll keep it kind of quick on this, but we're going to release a new song here in just a few weeks. It's not country sounding at all. It's more piano oriented. Mm-hmm. And we both wrote this song together, and really all it is it's a tribute to Christine McVie of Fleetwood Mac, who we recently lost just a few months ago. We're both huge fans of the band, and we both agreed that she was so inspirational to us that we decided to actually write a song together about her. And we're getting it out there. We've already put a YouTube video out already, and just a tribute type thing again. And it's getting a pretty good response.
Well, let me ask you this then, okay? Can I say that I'm doing a world premiere of your new video on my show, because I have that video and I was going to play it right after this interview?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that would be great.
That is so awesome. But before we can't end this quite yet, because I have a bunch of other questions I have to ask you. But tell me about this. How's been your play with Glacer FM? How have you liked the indie scene? How do you differ that? But wouldn't it be a lot easier if you were like, you were just signed on to some record contract and they just ran you up the flight and the charts and put your commercials out there for your songs and all that kind of stuff? What appeals to this? What this line of the music industry appeals to you?
I just think I love it. I'm so excited to experience the fact that Glacer FM has embraced me as an artist and my music. And to me, I'm going to be completely honest. I've never won a thing in my life. So when I found out that this won Best Country Song of 2022, I was overjoyed. I was thrilled, and I'm just so happy that they want to play my music and that they're looking forward to some more music from me. I can't wait to send them some more songs, because, like I said, pretty soon, sometime in the near future here, I'm going to be ready to go with some more songs. And I've got a few others that I think will fit really well. If they kind of want to push that country kind of sound, sort of, I got a few that I think is going to work for that, So I'm just going to keep going with it. And I love you, Glacer FM. You guys have been the best playing my music. And, I think it's a great approach. I'd rather do it this way at my age than try to go through the whole thing. And, I'm not even like I said, I feel like I'm not really looking to try to make it big per se. I just feel like having my songs recognized by anyone, to me, is just the greatest thing. So you are listening to my songs, and that means so much. So, well,
really and that's what the indie wave is all about. That's why I titled this show that. Is I think we're coming up on the creator economy right now, and we're coming up in a way that is really sending the music industry, I think, into full-on frightened mode at this point, because, quite frankly, we have things like Glacer FM, we have the Spotifys, we have the Pandoras. There's all different ways that people get their music out there, through Amazon, through Google, and, quite frankly, through YouTube as well. And quite frankly, we don't need a record producer anymore. We don't need the middlemen to tell us that we're commercially viable or we're not commercially viable. We can be honest. And I broadcast from Aberdeen, Washington, which is it's the birthplace of grunge music with Kurt Cobain. He grew up here. And quite frankly, I kind of think if Kurt Cobain didn't have to live in the commercial world that he did, we may still have him today. And so I'm so excited about this indie wave that's taking place, and the fact that independent musicians like you can be found and can go around the world. And that's why I'm trying to share this with the world and tell everybody about, Kurt Gott, the amazing guy that's not just country. He's not just rock and roll. He is everything to everyone. He is the Uniman of the world.
That's great. I totally agree with you 100% on all of that. It's a beautiful thing that we've got these days to be able to take a song recorded right here in this room and get it out there to the world and have millions of people listen to it. So to me, that's the greatest thing. You couldn't do that 30 years ago. You couldn't do that. So nowadays we've got this ability to get things out there, and there's a lot of great options for promotions and everything. So if you really, you just got to really do some research, which took a while for me to kind of figure it all out, but I feel like I'm getting better at the process, and
let me help the people with their research. And I'm now going to play Christine, the world premiere of your new single. It is by Kurt Gott. It is Christine, and it is a tribute to Christine McVie, who we just lost recently from Fleetwood Mac. It's a very touching song, and I want you to have a listen to it right now. Thanks for listening.
You were a young, perfect girl from a Birmingham town. Shared your musical gifts and your name got around. You never needed the spotlight, even though it was on you. You're out with the best and your talent shone through. Christine, I can hear you like a songbird that once flew into the clouds as your spirit rides on through. You lived through the rumors and you dealt with the drama. It was an emotional ride, but the band played on through the trauma. Roads that you travel got longer and got steep. The life on the road took its toll. The affairs left a scar that was deep. Christine, I can hear you like a songbird that once flew into the clouds as your spirit rides on through. Christine, I can hear you like the songbird we once knew. So into the clouds, let your spirit ride on through. From the heart, we'll carry on. Carry on. Carry on.
I am reviving a little segment that I had in my last podcast called The Takeaway, because I think it's a great way to end the show and a better way to get you excited about what's coming up next week. I, like Kurt, am catching up with my passions a little late in life. Seems to me many of the artists we will be featuring on this show in the future are a little late to the game as well, and by virtue of that fact, that commercial media is a young person's game, we are all resigned to working twice as hard to be taken seriously and get found. But that is not to say we are not good enough or shouldn't be heard, and it was with an eye to the good people over at Glacer FM who welcome the Joe Weimers and the KURTGOTTs of the world to the airwaves and allow me a chance to show my talents as an interviewer on this podcast that I say to you, go for it. The truth is, whether you're 20 or 50, new to the music scene or a veteran that has just not quite made it yet, the technology that exists now gives us all a chance to share our message with the world, whether it be in song, literature, theater, or art. Whatever your age and whatever your passion, this is the time. We are on the eve of the creator economy, and never before has it been easier to create works of art and share them with an audience that is starving for new perspectives and different content than it is right now. Next week, we head across the pond to sit down with a band that is tearing up the charts from South Wales, and the creators of Glacer FM's best rock song of 2022 with their hit This Is My Life, Zach the Locust. And we'll hear their story about their battle to beat back irrelevance. And so I ask you to hit that subscribe button and tell your friends, because it is only here that you will find the stories behind the music and get keyed into some of the best new hit makers that you will never, ever hear on commercial radio. So for all of us here at the Indie Wave, big thanks to Glacer FM and KURTGOTT for making this week's episode possible. Tune in next week, folks. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.